Welcome back to another construct video, and in this video we're looking at adding move animations. So we've got our attacks up already, but they've got no animations. We want to add that now. And this becomes a little bit more tricky than some of the stuff we've looked at before, because before we've been able to use all the assets from the Pokemon library, there isn't actually any animation sprites available online, at least what I could find for these moves. So we're going to have to create our own, which can be a bit of a challenge. So easiest way to do this is actually on your main screen. We're going to start by finding the snipping tool. Once you've got your snipping tool, we're going to create a new snip. And what's really important is that we snip just next to both our sprites like that. So both our sprites are just inside the frame. And this will make sense a bit later. Once you've got that, we can copy that, and we're now going to move to a different tool completely. And the tool we're going to be using today is called Pixel. This is a way that we can create animations and pixel art really easily. We can do the same thing inside of Construct, but this is just a much nicer tool to do this in. So we create a new sprite, and then we're going to paste in our image, and it's going to resize our canvas. So press OK. And now we've got our canvas set up. I can use minus to make it a little bit smaller. And if you want the grid on or off, there's some settings here that we can use to just change that. So grids, I'm going to turn it off for now. So once we've got this set up, we can now draw on top. So we've got our layer 1. We're going to add a second layer. This is where we're going to create our sprites. And we've got the option here to actually change the opacity of that first layer. So once we're finished with this, we could turn it back to layer 0. Now I'm just going to quickly just rush something together. Here we go. Here's my bubble for bubble beam. Once I've got it, I can just duplicate. I can then take our move tool and move this to where I want it to be, and then keep repeating until I've got the animation the way I'm happy. And there's a preview at the top here that we can look at where we can watch it go through. We can even change the speed of it. Now, obviously, for video's sake, to make this a little bit quicker, this is one that I've done already. So if we look at this now, you can see that we've got a little bubble beam animation. This is just by taking some assets off Google Images and then putting them together to make a short animation. So once we've got that and we're happy with it, what we need to do is export this now. So the way we do this inside Pixel is we hit the export button. We make sure we're on a PNG, and we're going to download it as a sprite sheet. Now pay attention to the number of columns and rows, as we'll need this later. So this is 3 by 5. So I'm going to download this, and I'm going to come across and I'm going to add a new object. Now this is going to be called Sprites, and this first one is going to be called Attack. So I can click to add it. And we're going to change animation 1. We're just going to rename it to the move. So in this case, I've done bubble beam. And then on this bottom section, we're going to right click, import frames, and import from strip. We're then going to find our sprite strip that we've put in. And this needs to be 3 by 5. Now, one mistake that I've made with mine is we've still got the background assets in there. We don't want that. So I'm just going to quickly go back to Pixel, and all I'm going to do is just go back to layer 1 and just set the opacity to 0, and then just re-export. So it's really important that we've only got just the sprite, as you'll see in the top right corner, and nothing else. And then again, it's just as simple as right clicking, import from strip, finding that new one, and then again 3 by 5. And if you've got something in the animation box already, just use this tick box to remove everything. So with that done, we've now got a simple animation that goes through, and then when it gets to the end, we get this big blast of bubbles. Final thing I'd recommend doing to this is just right click and add a blank frame right at the end, so the animation ends and then the whole screen goes blank. This means if the game pauses for any reason near the end, the animation's finished and it's stopped. So once we're done, we can hit the X, and then we want to position this the same way that we did our screen grab. Now, one of the things I've done with mine is I've made mine a little bit too big, so there's going to be a couple of mistakes later on, or some issues that I'm going to come across that you won't, but let's carry on anyway. So if that's set up, we now need to be able to play these animations when we want. So we're going to go to our event sheets and we're going to scroll down. And the first thing I'm going to do is go to the show options. We're just going to add a new action. And when we're showing the options, we just want to find the attack. I'm going to scroll down to set visible. And we're going to make it invisible. So anytime we're showing our options, showing our moves or dialogue, we want to make sure the animation is invisible. We only really need to do this for show options because in order to get to anything else, we'd have to go through show options first. So now we can go to the move in question. So the move is going to be Bubble Beam. And we're just going to add some actions underneath. So the first one that we want is we're going to take our attack. We're going to set visible and we're going to make it visible. We're then going to also go to our attack, scroll down, set animation, and if you ever want to look at your animations, remove these speech marks, add some new ones, and it will show you all your animations. So we want to play Bubble Beam from the start. And finally, all we're going to do is take these two and we're just going to put them above the signal for enter to move on and go back to the start menu. You may also want to add a wait here to make it so the person can't skip through the animation, but I quite like it that once you've got used to playing this game and you want to skip through the animation to make it a bit quicker, you can. So let's test it now. So we can hit run. So we can hit fight. Oh, and you'll see that we've got the animation playing already. So what you might want to do is just make sure that we've got this initially visible off. So let's just tick that one off. Let's try again. So now nothing's happening. We can now use Bubble Beam and it will go across, it'll get to the end, and then we get the end, and then we can go back to the start again. One thing I have noticed that I'll point out now is that on first playtime, sometimes the animation doesn't work. It only seems to happen when you first use it. Once you use it a second, third, fourth, fifth, it works absolutely fine. It's just the first one that sometimes doesn't work. I'm not sure why. I think it's just a bug with the construct engine, but you can see that we can use Bubble Beam and it bursts. What happens if our opponent uses the same move though? We want the opponent to have the bubble come from them. And this is why we set it up in the way that we have, where we screenshotted both Pokemon next to each other inside the same snip. So what we're going to do is we're going to go right to the top. And let's get rid of this. Let's call this options or game options. Again, this is just a comment to help us lay out our code. And underneath this, we're going to add a new global variable. It's going to be called player's turn. And it's going to be a Boolean because it's either your turn or it's not. So Boolean just means true or false. And by default, I'm actually going to turn it off just for now. And I'll put that under game options. So at the bottom, we're just going to add a new event, system event. We're just going to check if a Boolean set. So is it player's turn? If it is the player's turn, what we want to do is we want to take the attack and we're going to change two settings. So the first one we're going to do is set mirrored. We're going to make it not mirrored, so that'll be its default anyway. And we're also going to go to attack, scroll down and set flipped. And we're going to set to not flipped. We're then going to take this, copy and paste it. Make sure you click on it on the far left in order to copy and paste. And then we're just going to reverse all of these. So we're now going to check if it's not the player's turn. We're then going to mirror the attack. And we're going to flip the attack as well. And this is just a really nice trick that we can use to reverse all our attacks. Now you can do it where you can check each attack individually if it's the player's attacking, the computer's attacking, and then based on that, change the animation and flip it around the other way. But this just uses a ton of events. And what I'm trying to do here is be really conservative with our events because most users will be using the free version. So let's test it. So just before we test, just a reminder that we are on false. So it's not our turn, it should be the opponent's turn. So any attacks we do should come from the opponent now. So I'm going to fight and do Bubble Beam. And again, you see that sometimes it doesn't work on the first one. That's something that I'll try and fix by next week. But if we do it again, you'll see the attack now comes from the opponent and then it finishes at the end. And then if I was to go back to our event sheets and flip this around, set this on to be true, and I play it once more, we should now do the attack, and the attack should come from us. So, and again, that one's not started from the beginning, so we'll play it once more. There we go, from the beginning this time, and then it finishes like so. So we're getting really, really close to getting our battle system really finished. What I want to do in the next video, no matter how long the video takes, is to finish off this battle system. So now we deal with stuff like health, making it so it switches turns. There's a lot of stuff that we've not added that we won't be added straight away, but next video I want to have the core basics down for the battle system so we can start moving on to the overworld. Hope you enjoyed this video. Hopefully it's gave you a bit of insight into some basic animations, and hopefully you can start adding the other moves in so you can add in your own animations for all these other moves. And I'll see you in the next video.